I think as business owners, not too many of us that wouldn't have the dream of being able to step away from our business and have the business run without us and grow while we're not there. It's been a hot topic of conversation on the SiteShed podcast over the years, and certainly within the community, and a lot of the general feedback that I get from colleagues, friends, clients, so on and so forth, is that they need to be in their business, and if they did step aside, then the business would inevitably fall over. Essentially saying that it's impossible for a trade business owner to remove themselves from the running of the business. So I got a colleague and friend of mine, Darren, who is a runs a joinery business. He's a cabinet maker, so he's a chippy. He had been traveling the world for a couple of years with his business running in Sydney, Australia without him. And so I got him on the show back in April of 2018, over 2 years ago, episode 147 that was, and I encourage you to go check that one out because this is part two of this conversation 2 years ahead. And this was actually spurred from request. He's back by popular request from a conversation within the community. Somebody asked a question around, wanting to be able to travel around the country, and somebody mentioned this podcast, and as a result, they've requested that I get him back on the show to see where he's at. So between 2018 and today, 2020, there's obviously been quite a few changes, which you're going to hear all about in this podcast. And there's obviously been a lot of lessons that have been learnt along the way. So in this episode, you're going to hear about some of the changes that have happened within Darren's mindset, within his business, and what his role now looks like. And he also discusses things that, he does differently today that he wasn't doing a couple of years ago. And then he talks about things that he's going to do differently looking forward. Yes, he's still traveling the world. He's home at the moment because of coronavirus, but he'll be back as soon as he can, no doubt. He was actually overseas when the coronavirus hit and he had to come home, which you're going to hear about as well in this podcast. But essentially, guys, this is a bit of a revelation podcast for you, because it's for all of you guys out there that, want to essentially remove yourselves from the day-to-day running of your business so that you've got a bit more time on your hands. And that doesn't always necessarily mean traveling. It could mean spending more time training or playing golf or surfing or whatever it is you want to do, or hanging out with the family, But fundamentally, in order to do those things, in order to create more time, you need to sort of take on what Darren says in these podcasts so you can understand the fundamentals of what has to be established in order for you to be able to be in a position where you can essentially remove yourself from either parts of or the entire organization. So it's quite a confronting podcast in the sense that when you listen to it, you sort of think, man, I've got a lot of work to do, which is also a good thing, right? So I hope you enjoy this. And guys, if you're not in the community, jump in there. I mean, Darren's in there. He's always commenting on things, and he's always got a lot of useful insight. And you're working too much, or you'll never be able to remove yourself from your business, or you'll never be able to sell your business, then I encourage you to steer them in the direction of these two podcasts, because this is a guy that certainly has removed himself. He's certainly built a system-run organization with a great team, which is certainly an acquirable asset. Looking forward, he's just living his life, and it's fantastic. Fanatical skier like myself, and he's a mad keen sailor as well. And so he basically spends his time while he's not working doing those two things, skiing and sailing, which is amazing. So guys, enjoy this show. I look forward to having you in the community to join the conversation. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Cheers. Today's podcast has been proudly brought to you by Tradie Web Guys. Tradie Web Guys work with tradespeople only on their websites and marketing solutions to help them stand out from their competition. Everything from web design through to SEO, search engine marketing, content creation, you name it, guys. It is a customized solution for trade-based organizations, and it's fantastic. Head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/apply, fill in the form, and let's have a conversation. Dazza, welcome back to the SiteShed podcast.
How's it going, Matt?
Back by popular request.
A little bit shocked on that. I haven't had many popular requests in my lifetime.
For you listeners and viewers out there that have been following the show for a while, you will remember Darren from episode 147, proof that your trade business can run while you travel the world. and I was interviewing Darren. Where were you in Verbier then, or were you in? You
No,
were
I
on a
was
boat,
sitting
weren't
on my
you?
boat in Turkey, in Gojek in Turkey.
Yeah, I was interviewed Darren. This was before we went video, of course. Darren was sitting in his boat in Turkey, and the topic of the conversation was, of course, I loved it because it dispelled a lot of myths that a lot of guys out there, and a lot of objections that we hear is that, well, you don't understand, you can't run a trade business and remotely, you can't travel the world and have the business run without you. And you were like, actually, you can. I'm doing it, and I've been doing it for years. A lot of this is going to be a very well received podcast. As I said, well, as you know, it was actually requested in the group that we did a bit of a follow up. So welcome back.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone wanting to listen to me again.
Yeah, I know that's the hardest thing.
Fun, isn't it? Yeah, no, it was good fun. You learn a lot about telling others what you do. It's like teaching an apprentice. You learn a lot when you teach an apprentice. So,
and so you're back in Sydney at the moment. You had to come back because of the whole coronavirus thing. Actually, you got coronavirus. Well, congratulations.
yeah, I did have coronavirus. Anyone who says it's not that bad, give me a call. The actual virus isn't bad, but afterwards, the fatigue for like 8 to 10 weeks was shocking.
Yeah,
so
right.
by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're ready for bed.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
over it now and back into it, but we'll see what happens.
So you were actually in Switzerland when all that kicked off, and when you you and everyone else in the village apparently caught it.
Yeah, I was in Verbier having a good time.
Yeah, okay. So for Verbier, for you guys that don't know, is a ski town in Switzerland. Numerous seasons now, isn't it? How many have you done there?
My 3rd season there, but I think it's my 6th trip there.
Is that your 3rd back to back?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Proud of that.
That's awesome. So there you go, guys. For all of you that think that it's impossible, this is some more proof in the pudding that it is possible. Three back-to-back ski seasons in Verbier, and I think in between you were doing sailing, right? You had a boat that was more.
I spent 7 months in the Med on my catamaran as well in one stint. So in the last 2.25 years, I spent 9 months skiing, 7 months cruising the Med.
Just give the listeners and the viewers out there a bit of a rundown as to what your business is, where you guys operate, what you sort of deliver, what services, and.
It's called The Kitchen Maker. I've actually got 2 businesses, thekitchenmaker.com.au and totalpolyurethane.com.au. I own The Kitchen Maker outright, but I've got a fantastic team, and I don't think I touched on that last time. But we do custom-made kitchens, wardrobes, vanities, home offices, commercial offices as well. A little bit of work in schools and pubs and clubs, but main thing is high-end residential. And with the spray painting business that I'm half shares in, it's in the same complex of factories that I'm in. We paint for The Kitchen Maker and about 8 to 10 other companies in the area.
Okay.
That do similar to work to what we do.
The hot topic of conversation was, how you're able to run, essentially one full-time business and one part-time, well, not part-time, but one business that you're a part owner in, essentially not be there. We might recap. I know we spoke about that a lot on the first episode. And for all you guys that missed it, go and listen to episode 147, because today Darren's going to talk a little bit more about not so much, how he's done these things, but then what the lessons that he's learned between, that was April 12, 2018. So that was over 2 years ago. I can't believe it. But I suppose you've learned a lot in that time. We want to talk a little bit about what you've learned throughout that.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit like going sailing. It wasn't all smooth. I did lose like a key member of staff when I came home the second time, and that was hard to swallow, and I did have to stay home for a while then. But that's part of it. You've got to be a little bit flexible. It's also good because I've learned a lot of things. You come back in with a fresh set of eyes. Like this time I've come back in and I've made some really little but really critical changes. We've only just done them. They might or might not work, but if you don't try them, you're never going to know. But I'm really confident they will. It is hard leaving the team. Probably the next times I do go away, I will keep in contact a little bit more. And I probably will do, the first time I went away, I was only doing about 4 hours work a week.
4-hour work week.
Yeah, mate, read that. I'm listening to it again at the moment. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. That guy's a bit of a legend. Some things I agree with, like everything, but not everything suits your situation.
Correct.
Probably the last time I went away, I probably did about 8 to 12 hours of work some weeks. But yeah, it's good to keep your hand in it, like just do a little bit. But any more than that, you're not really away. You might as well be at home working. The things I do learn that are hard, your team's critical to everything, and you've got to make sure they all click and all get on. And communicate with them, make sure they, a lot of the guys that have been there a long time have no problem with being away because I know I worked hard to get there. Where some of the newer guys sort of get a little bit frustrated, but overall it's been a fantastic experience.
Yeah, nice. And so I suppose team is at the backbone of this for sure. You've obviously got great managers in place and you've got great guys out there delivering the services and on the operational side. However, I mean, all of that comes as a result of having the right processes in place. And I know you've been massive on that over the years. How does that look in terms of, I suppose, management structure? And then, obviously you're not out there telling the guys what to do day to day because you're not around, but you've got, good managers in place that are doing that and reporting back to you.
When I came home the first time, I said to after 9 months away, so that was a big stint just to go the first time. I said to my manager, "Oh, well, you've done a fantastic job." And he goes, "No," he said, "it was the 7 years we spent," because he's been with me, 10-year anniversary was in May. He said, "It's the 7 years we spent setting up the systems." And before that, I'd started as well. He said that made it happen. He said to me, his comment was, "We've got a good recipe now. All we've got to do is keep it going." He said, "We don't really need to change anything." And I think that was key to it. We had a good structure that proven that it worked, and they didn't deviate from it. They didn't want to deviate from it, which was a big thing as well. Like they all bought into the systems and as well. So having buy-in from your staff, of course, is crucial, and then having them do it, it worked a treat.
And so you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, when you came back, you have made changes. And then just then you said they didn't want to make any changes. So what changes have you made and did that get resistance?
It's got a little bit of resistance from the upper level management, but now they're seeing it working. It's good. But what I'm saying is, okay, I don't like to say I'm the leader, but I suppose I am. So we had a system that worked, so we didn't change from that. What we've done is just the way it work up in the factory, we've just changed. It's sort of a little bit hard to explain on air, but we used to set up all the kitchens just in the middle of the factory, exactly the way we go in the house. Now we've shortened that process down. I've got low benches around the edges of the factory and we set it all up there. It's cleared the factory up, given us a lot better flow. And I'll probably come up with that after reading a couple of books about on lean manufacturing and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is I probably wouldn't want them to make, and they wouldn't want to make huge changes while I was away either.
Right.
And that is key, that for my comfort as much as anything, they don't make too big of changes, or if they're going to do anything, they discuss it as well. But they've all got buy-in and it worked. But I mean, okay, I spent in the last two and a quarter years since I spoke to you last time, and I've spent about half of that time away. I mean, how quick does time fly? So
yeah, I know.
Business can't survive that little bit of time without you. It's not a business, it's a job.
So has your role in the business changed at all throughout the time that we've spoken, the last two conversations?
David, when I'm away, David takes a lot more of a role. He looks over the finances a lot more. I've taken that back on only in the last month, just so I can get my finger right back on the pulse and with this COVID stuff, free him up to do as much sales as we can and just get out there as much as we can.
Yeah.
But definitely just oversee more things. Probably more staff training, like I'm going out and working on the tools a bit more. I've got a job I'm doing next week, and I did one about 3 weeks ago, just to really put you in touch. Like the first time I was away 9 months, and I came home and worked on the floor just as a cabinet maker, which was a great experience. I was coming in at 6:30 and going home at 3 and just doing my job and had no worries and watching everything go around me, which was fantastic because I could see that they could do it without me. But also I learned so much about the business in that time, just stepping back. Any business owner should go out with the apprentice and just get back to the grassroots, just like Undercover Boss. Yeah. Actually, I came back in and there was 2 guys in there that didn't even know. For 2 days, they didn't know it was my business. I ended up firing one of them. But
because you didn't know you are. Don't you know who I am? You're out.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like that. He was late, like the second day in a row, and I just commented on it, and he fired up, and I said, "Oh well," I said, "Mate, I don't think it's going to work out here." It was a good experience to do that. Like I didn't think for 2 days. I didn't think I could. It was the morning of the 3rd day. I didn't think I could keep it quiet for that long, but it worked.
So now there's probably got like an internal WhatsApp work group coming around going, "Oh, the boss is coming back. Be careful. If you don't fluff him up and pretend to know who he is, you'll sack you."
No, it wasn't that. It's the same as everyone. It's attitude. You know what it's like.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
But one thing I do instill in my staff is that they pay their own wages.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't do a good job and work, there's no money to pay them. And
Yep.
when I went away the first time, I said that, and I still say it to this day. I said, if you guys want to slack off, there's going to be no job here for you, because the business has got to generate the money to pay you, not me.
And that's actually, I took that away in the last podcast that I did with you, and that's something that I regularly communicate to my guys as well. I'm like, because as like, it's funny, I had this conversation with my coach yesterday, and like, there's so many frustrations at the moment within my business, which, I mean, every business has issues, and like, things that are taking way too much time, which are preventing me from out there, doing important things, which is growing the business. And I'm like, and I keep saying to these guys, the more time I have to spend micromanaging you, doing things you know how to do, like, the less time I've got to bring more work in to pay you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And like, that hits home with some of them. Others are just like,
the micromanaging is something that I've had to get over not doing, and it's a huge weight off your shoulders. Like, I'm changing my showroom and offices around at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm going to move out of the main office to let a new sales guy that I've just brought on in there, because I find that I just get too many interruptions during the day with everyone there.
Yeah.
And also, if someone walks into the showroom, I'm picking up the job half the time, where I'm trying to create new systems, improve the business, where I don't want to be doing the day-to-day stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to remove myself from that situation. And what are they going to do if I'm not there?
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to do it.
So with that in mind, with that frame, I mean, this is probably, I think everybody that's watching this or listening to this is going to have these same issues, right? Like, they need to, essentially, if they want to grow the business, they've got to remove themselves from areas. So how do you attack that? Because this is something that I will be doing when I got off the phone call with you today, and the conversation I just had with my coach, he's like, you need to go and go back to your org chart. And I really do. I've got to go back and I've got to map out things that are happening within the business so I can remove myself. And I've got to bring more managers into different areas, because at the moment it's turning into like, we're just so busy and there's so much work on, and it just needs people in the right places.
Well, actually, I'll give you a bit of a plug here. The boys went to your ski and learn when I was away. Yeah. They had a ball, and they came back and did that. We'd already done an organisation chart, but they came back and revised it and sent it to me when I was away.
Wow.
And them doing that gave 110% buy-in. I've actually got a new coach. I've only had 2 sessions with him, and he actually I did ask him if I'd give him a plug, and he hasn't replied back, but I will anyway. I'm sure he's right. His name's Jason Hedges, and he owned a company called Decker Glaze Glass Splashbacks. Right. And it's now publicly listed. I mean, and he took that from, and that's only putting glass on the wall. Again, he's not putting glass on the wall, he's providing a service. And that's a big thing what I bring to my business. But he's all about staff buy-in. Like, at the moment we've done SWOT analysis. I meant to get all the paperwork back from everyone this morning on, their view on the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats to the business. But that's been really good. I did it with my 4 office staff first, just so we could get our heads around it, so we could explain to the other guys how to do it, sort of thing. But you can get so much out of your staff if you don't micromanage them as well.
Yeah.
Because the guys that are making the kitchens in the factory, are they going to know how to make? I haven't made a kitchen for 5 years. I do quite often go, but are they going to be better at it than me?
Of course, yeah.
Probably. Are they seeing the day-to-day issues? Like, we wrote this SWOT analysis. I didn't know one of the machines was always playing up.
Right.
It's only something little, but, I got someone in, fixed it. Yeah. We're off again. I wanted to replace one of the machines, and everyone's like, no, we like that, and it was just little things like that you get from your staff. Jason used an example that they always had a problem with their water jetting machine, and it was getting glass, and one of the 18-year-olds in the factory said, I'll come on Saturday and service it every Saturday. And they stopped breaking down all the time, because they used it, 10 hours a day, every day, and there was no time to service it. So getting information and listening to your staff is something that it is hard to take, but it's really good.
Oh, totally. I think people that are ignorant towards that, they're probably, actually, to be fair, there's probably the people that are listening to this and watching this are probably not those people. Like the people that are willing to listen or watch a podcast are typically the type of people that are wanting to adapt and learn and evolve. So kudos to you guys out there taking all this information in. But it's certainly been my case. I found as well, there's sometimes, and probably because I haven't got the right formula down for it, you sometimes get resistance in getting the feedback you actually need. Like sometimes they give you what you want to hear. And I'm still trying to formulate the right structure around, framing up those questions so that they actually tell me what the issues are, not what they think I want to hear.
How many guys in your team?
Close to 10.
Yeah, I've got 10 in the kitchen maker and 4 in the spray shop. We did have up to 17 and up to 7 at one stage, but the size we've got it now is like really nice.
Yeah, it varies. We've got a lot of contractors as well, which work on different things. But I mean, my team's completely remote as well, so it's slightly different setup. But that said, I think like having a remote business has been great because it forces you to process things. It forces project management. It just makes you have everything black and white and documented. And then it also forces you to be, front and present with, team meetings and all that kind of stuff. So that's been quite a good serendipity, I suppose, of running a remote team. And I think it's something as well, like in light of, in the wake of this whole coronavirus thing where, for years we've been trying to teach people how to do these things, and all of a sudden everyone's forced home, everyone's working from home and remote, and everyone's like, oh, what was that stuff you were telling me about years ago?
I was watching, going off the topic, but I watched something, one of the guys off Shaft Tank said he was all against remote businesses. Yeah. And he's a technology, Steve, the guy sits on the left-hand side, and he's all for it now since Corona.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely can work. I mean, some of our stuff can't be, and some people can't be trusted, but if they can't be trusted, they're the wrong person. But like, I've just made a few notes here. I came back this time with a massive fresh set of eyes, and probably a bit of that was I had like nearly a month in quarantine.
Yeah.
So I had time to think. So like, give yourself time to think as well. Like, don't be in it all day, every day, because you're never going to get to the bottom of it, because you're just stuck in the rut, like the hamster on the wheel, just going run, doing jobs.
Yeah, totally.
Got to remove yourself a little bit of it. I mean, I came rushing home because I thought the world was going to fall apart, like it had in Europe, is now in Brazil. But it's been the government, of course, has done a fantastic job.
Yeah. I mean, that's something as well that I've learned a lot. But like in my experience, I don't know what your experience is, but the only way that I can actually remove myself from doing things is by having that org chart built out, knowing what things I'm doing in whatever department, mapping that out, creating job descriptions, creating process around the job descriptions for that specific part of the business. And then I can go, okay, train someone on that. And then I can step aside, manage it for a while, make sure it's being run properly, and then remove myself.
What I basically did is, like I said, I want to take a year off, but it's been, I've done a lot more than that. And I said, what have I got to do that? And I just went through and exactly what you said. I wrote job descriptions. We came up with processes, but I did those processes with the person that was doing that thing.
Yeah.
Like we created them together, because if I just write it down point for point, to them it's not a job. It's just
that's right.
It's a task list every day.
So then how do you go about, like, if there's parts of the business that you're, like, things you're currently doing in the business, but you haven't yet got a team member on board, like, how do you recruit for that? Or has that not happened yet?
I've been pretty lucky in that case. I've had David, my main manager, has been with me 10 years. Yeah. Justin's been with me since I started, which is 17 years. And Drew's been with me 12 years. He's our sort of foreman and head installer as well. Always had the people there to do it. Like David had to upskill himself a little bit, understand the financial statements, because he'd never read them before. It is confronting giving that stuff up at first. Yeah. And it is like, it's not all perfect, because, like if you wanted to run your wife's car through the business and stuff like that, you can't do that sort of thing as easily. And so it's not all perfect, but it does work. I've got a profit share with the key guys.
Yeah.
Works well, but again, nothing's perfect.
I suppose, is that a good, do you think that's part of the reason why you've had such a high retention and guys stay for so long, because you have that incentive?
I've had a really good retention of my main guys, but as far as the guys lower down the chain, I haven't had the best retention, which is something that I'm working on fixing. I mean, I got off the tools probably full-time. I've been going 7 years. You probably got off the tools full-time 10 years ago, and I haven't finished an apprentice since then.
Right.
And I've had a lot start and not finish. And that's something that looking at whether I used to send them the TAFE and now we do it in-house through an external training organisation, or one became a plumber, one became a stuntman, one moved away. So, all that was understandable, but there's a few there that I think should have, I probably could have mentored a bit better and got through.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
I'm a big believer in this. It's kids these days. I don't believe in that because I got told the same thing. When I was
same here. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was an apprentice, we used to work 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
When I've had to, and it's definitely not just the kids of today. It's how we teach them and how we take care of them as well.
No,
we're just as much to blame as they are.
Yeah, totally agree. And so, I mean, in terms of going back to sort of your role in the business now, what it looks like, and then 2 years ago when we spoke, what's been the major changes there, the major shifts?
Me not working.
Yeah.
But no, just letting go is the thing. Is letting the other guys look at the numbers and be responsible for that. Making sure the payments are coming in.
Yeah.
See, every week when I'm away, one big thing we do is my books are balanced every week.
Yep.
I get a full set of financial management reports, which is KPI, profit and loss, balance sheet.
What are the KPIs?
If the number's over 1, we've done it right, financial terms.
Yeah.
And then I've a list of, payables and receivables every week. And I get that, if it's not on every Wednesday, I have it by the weekend. And that is key because there's a clear process. These people haven't paid, chase them up.
Yeah.
We haven't paid that, whatever. And we do have numbers that sell to, and that's critical. If you don't have a target to hit, for anyone, even the guys on the floor,
yeah,
we've got it all mapped out. Every day has got a list of stuff, what's got to be done.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, dreaming, when we are someone asked me one of our strengths, and I said, I think scheduling is one of the things we're pretty good at. So we, plan all our time out really well. We could do it with a bit more technology, but having a list of what's got to be done every day, and we forecast that. We've got jobs penned in for 3 months' time.
Yeah.
So that the roadmap easy. When I just worked with me and one apprentice, I remember I stopped doing the schedule, and I'd work 7 days a week, 6 to 7 days a week, because I didn't know when all the jobs had to be finished by. As soon as I started doing a schedule again, I was back to 5 days a week.
Yeah, right.
And, because, if you book in that much work, that's what you do. If you don't book it in, you just keep going.
Yeah.
The hamster back in the wheel again. Basically, now I've come back in, all I'm doing is training the new staff, overseeing stuff, and checking the financials, like myself with David, which has been really good because we do it together. He's my manager, of course. And then, so what I am doing is if someone's away, or one guy walked out a few weeks ago, I had to jump in and do his job, which I don't have a problem with. I went out and did it all. So,
yeah, it's good getting in there and doing. I find sometimes that's the best way to improve a process is just to get in there and do it yourself and see what's broken or see what can be improved, or liaise with the guys that are doing it to see if things can be improved. I don't know how else you do it.
Well, one thing I've been trying to get my manager to do is go out and do an install from start to finish, because he's a tradesman. He's a cabinet maker by trade. He installed some cupboards at home for himself. He goes, man, I learned so much. And I'm like, One thing is that I've got a brand new guy who's only been with us for 3 or 4 weeks, and he came from another company on the beaches that were a little bit bigger than us. And he said, one thing, he goes, you make time for improvements.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, where I was, they weren't making time for improvements.
Yeah.
And I think anyone, people who work for you, I wouldn't say managers so much, but generally people that work for someone, you have to train them. That's why they're there, because I don't want to have the responsibility of their own business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been pretty lucky at the moment. I've got a good friend of mine who used to have his own business, and he's been working for me. And he walked into a job the other day and sent me photographs of the hallway. It was damaged, for some marks on the wall. And I would have looked at that probably, my vision just walking in. Yeah, that's it. And I wouldn't have taken notice of it, but he took photos. So I've put a system in place. Now, when you walk into a house in the morning, Just take photos of what's there,
Yep.
what's around, so we can't get blamed for damaging the carpet, damaging the wall. And, so you constantly evolving is the key.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's something that I've certainly, like we have like some insanely documented, standard operating procedures for things like web development, marketing deliverables, and all this kind of stuff. The template is forever evolving. Like almost weekly, there's new things being added to it. And like I'm sort of thinking when I built it, I'm like, sweet, this is done. This is great. And then like honestly, like it's pretty much doubled in size in the space of last 6 months. I was like, shit.
But if you didn't have that template, it was half the things, and half the things were getting done properly.
And now, exactly. And it's awesome now because we've got certain, like obviously all the benchmarks and things that have to happen, and I can see them coming through and being checked off, and I'm like, it's working. Like I know it's working, and productivity and deliverability and everything is exactly sort of the way I want it now. It's like really streamlined, and it's, that's something that's taken time to do. And it takes a shitload of time to implement these things and to get them up and running. But now I can sit back and I can see it working. And I'm like, well, this is great. So I don't ever have to touch that. Like the guys manage it, the guys update it, the guys add to it. Like it's perfect.
If you've got to do a job every time, you're doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like that's simple.
Yeah.
You haven't taught someone else to do it. And there's no way that, I could have spent time away if we hadn't have spent time putting systems in place. It's like McDonald's. They make the worst hamburgers, but they make the most because everyone knows what they're going to get when they get there.
Yeah, exactly. And so where do you see, I mean, obviously, would you have come back if it wasn't for the coronavirus thing, do you think? Or would you be in the med somewhere?
I'd be in the med somewhere preparing my boat to sail across the Atlantic. It's a little bit, saying that, I think I've really enjoyed being home this period because I came in not expecting to do it as well. It's been good. Like, Sydney is a fantastic place. I live in Manly by the beach. Just try and surf as much as I can. But of course, you want to be sailing again. But as I said before, it's nice to be useful, feel wanted at work, have a team around you again and get into it.
And do you think there'll be much resistance or objection when you pack up and leave again? Or do you think the staff will be like, pop?
I think probably
champagne opens.
If I haven't, I will ask. It's going to be a hard question for me to ask. I'm going to ask my manager what would he prefer, but I need to hear it, And you've got to. One other thing is in any business, you've got to ask hard questions.
Totally.
Yeah, like when I bought my factories, I bought it on vendor finance. I remember standing the guy there, asking him, would he lend me $2.5 million? I didn't even know the bloke, and he said yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all signed up in a mortgage and everything, but
I
made my dad come with me, so there was 2 against 1. If you don't ask the questions, you're not going to get.
Yeah.
And that's the same with building systems. And I find using professional people, mate, if you don't ask lawyers and accountants and doctors and everything more questions, what do you get? The same answer they gave the last person.
Yeah.
And it might be enough, but is it the best?
And so do you see yourself taking off again after all this stuff blows over?
Plan I'd love to do next ski season, but I'll probably stay here until April, May, and then I want to go to the boat and prepare it.
Yeah.
And I've got a few crazy adventures I'd like to do. Maybe sail down the coast to Patagonia and stuff as well, down the coast of South America.
Yeah, right.
Maybe go to Antarctica. Maybe.
Yeah, wow.
Maybe. We'll see. It's part of the reason I want to stay home is so I'll be in a better financial position for the boat, not so much the business and stuff, but just allow me to be because of course when I'm away, one of the big things about being away is I don't take a full wage.
Yeah.
Because it's not. I mean, the business could support it, but it's not for other guys. Like I've included them in, not so much in the decision what I've taken, but they definitely see what I take.
Yeah.
The key guys. They think it's fair enough, but I do ask I've got Bob, my business coach I've had for about 7 or 8 years, and he's sort of a real numbers man. And I asked him what he thought was fair as well. Yeah. So it wasn't just me, going, I want to earn $2,000 a week and I'm not doing it. That's not, the business can't sustain that fairly.
Yeah.
With other staff,
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's a good position, I suppose, to look at it from.
Yeah, I mean, you only get input equals output, right?
Yeah.
So if you do reduce your input, you also really have to reduce your output.
So next time you go away, what are you going to be doing different than you did last time?
Communicate with my staff more.
And
I'll ring every staff member once a month and just have a chat to them.
Okay.
Where at the moment I was only ringing key ones, and I avoided communicating with the other ones. Probably I don't get on with them as well. I don't have as much to talk to them about, but I will contact every staff member.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
There you go. Yeah.
I know the great Al Levy, who's been on the show a load of times. He's got a really good framework around communication, meeting with staff, and it's part of the weekly process. There's always a meeting. Or he'll have what we're doing now, like a Zoom call. There's no reason why you couldn't have a weekly Zoom stand-up meeting with all of your team and just say, hey guys, what's going on? Let me, just to check in. Like things like
from the back of my boat. Not sure they'd appreciate it. I could do it, so I'll put a curtain up behind me.
The sail? Is that a sail? No, it's a curtain, I swear. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, and this is something that I've said over and over again, and I say it to our clients all the time, communication will solve 99% of the problems. And before they even arise, and we're just so big on trying to manage expectations, especially with things like, when you're running marketing campaigns for companies. And if you don't clearly explain to them that, programs like search engine optimization takes time, like it's not an overnight thing. Like people are investing money and they're waiting to see the results, and it can take 3, 6 more months, sometimes before that return comes. If you haven't clearly communicated things like that at the beginning, then people are just going to they'll be resentful and they won't understand because you haven't told them, you see it all the time.
That's the same as your staff though. Like if you expect them, if they have the expectation that you're going to come into work and hand feed them every day, what are they going to do? They're going to let you hand feed them every day. If you give them the expectation that they've got to do this job and do it well and do it by themselves, they'll do it. If not, they'll leave.
Yeah.
And they're the wrong person for it.
So before we wrap up, I suppose in what would you like to say for listeners out there that are, that are watching this or, listening to this wherever, what are some of the things that you'd say the fundamental paramount things that, they need to consider if they want to step away from the business? And maybe it's traveling, maybe it's not, maybe they just want to spend more time with the family, not everyone's own bachelor like you, what are the things you say you have to have in order to be able to step away from the business and do whatever you want to do?
The biggest one is expectation from the staff, that they know what they've got to do and, and targets to meet. And the other one is systems, and trust, and having, a good team.
Yeah.
But everyone doesn't have to be a superstar. We've got a guy on the floor that, when he started with us, he was a tradesman, but all he'd done is stand on machines. He didn't even know how to adjust a hinge in the kitchen. I mean, most handymen would do that. Now he's been with us 2 or 3 years and he's going great guns.
Great.
He's doing his own installs and stuff, but it's because we said you've got to get to that level or, there's no point. Where in his last company, he just did exactly what they said, stood on the machine and pushed buttons. Yeah. And loaded and unloaded, that's all he did.
Yeah, I'd really encourage actually for you guys, like Darren's been talking a lot about systems. I know he's big on systems. We've talked about it online, we've talked about it offline in the past, but you guys, you really just got to knuckle down with these things. It can really free you up. And I'd encourage you, again, go check out Al Levy's got an awesome Create Your Business Manuals program, which you've got an exclusive. You as SiteShed listeners and viewers, you've got exclusive access to. You can get to it from the resource page. It's the siteshed.com/resources. Scroll down until you find Al Levy's thing and just get in there and fill in the form, and you'll be. It's a fantastic program. There's a few guys from the SiteShed that have already been through it and they rave about it. But to have these operating manuals built out, it will change your life and it will free you up. And who knows, you could be skiing in Verbier with Darren or sailing on his boat down to Antarctica. One
more thing you say about systems there is we've got a system on, I had a new guy start in the office and Chris has had a lot of experience. We had how to log our job into a system. We just gave him a bit of paper and we left him to it. Saved me half an hour showing him the system.
Yeah.
And it was done. Probably took someone an hour to write it the first time. But we've had 3 or 4 people start since then and just give them a bit of paper. It's so much easier, just for standard, easy procedures.
That's the first thing that we do when we onboard someone. We run them through how to create systems. We show them this process, we show them the framework, and then we say, here, this is the system on how to do it. Go and watch that. And we expect you to be documenting these processes or improving the ones that exist. And it's great. It means you've got to do it. Even yesterday, I was just training someone on it. They did their first one and they're like, how does this look? I'm like, yeah, it's excellent. Well done. And I was stoked because they're like, I did something valuable. Nothing. I just reviewed it. And we always say, every time you create a new process or we don't let everyone amend them, but certainly if you create a new process, we always say we've got like a Slack channel with all the team in it. And we say, post it in here and tag who it's relevant to. And so everyone can see it and everyone goes in, they look at it and then they all give their feedback or they'll all amend it or update it or whatever. And it's a great way to do it because essentially I don't have to do anything. Like I sort of wait until the comments have happened and things have been changed, and then I'll go and look at the final copy, and it's normally much better than I'd do it.
Well, that's what I'm finding now. Like I'm probably the worst one at following systems. Okay at implementing them. With the help of the other boys, I sort of come up with the first stage of it, and then the other boys finish them off.
Yeah,
and then
much easier to improve something that already exists than come up with it from scratch. So I find like the hardest part of any process is coming up with the initial thing, and then you've got something that you can steer.
But if you write down, like you might be making a bed, and if you write down the first few stages, when you go back to it, you just don't even have to think about it. But also you make, the first day you're not going to get every little bit in that bit of paper.
Yeah.
And you're going to come back and do it 10 more times before it's close to being right.
100%. Like people that think that systems and processes are a destination are freaking kidding themselves. Like it is always a journey. You always need to adapt and improve them. And you should, otherwise you end up running a business that's got processes that are 10 years old that's completely outdated.
I want to slap myself in the face for I talked about benches.
Do it. You're on camera.
Talked about the benches that I put around the walls, for setting up the kitchens on. Why I didn't do that 17 years ago, I'll never know.
Yeah.
I'm still getting a little bit of resistance from it, but it's starting to come through now.
Mate, hindsight's a funny thing, I tell you.
Oh, mate, I'm just like, you idiot. Like, I would have had a better back. I would have had better knees, everything. And same with all the boys, And it's faster.
Yeah.
And also, another thing is getting the staff to realise that, on that note, if their job's helping with processes and the SWOT analysis, it's going to make their job easier, and then they enjoy their work more.
Yeah.
And as soon as they see their improvements and they're enjoying their work more, they've got 100% buy-in.
Mate, this has been awesome. I'm going to have to jump off. Got another podcast coming up. Appreciate your time today. Thank you very much for joining us again. Congratulations on all of the successes, and I'm glad you're back in full health.
You too, mate. You've done all right as well, so it's good to see.
Look forward to liaising again and hearing about some more lessons that you've learned. And of course, looks like you'll be coming to Japan. Well, if it goes ahead, for Ski and Learn 2021. So that'll be good
to tack an extra couple of weeks on the end though, mate.
Yeah, we'll be doing that, don't worry.
And little lessons that we've had today that you can go away for a month. There we go.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. All right, it's been great, mate. Thanks again, and for any of you guys that want to get hold of Darren, probably the best place to do it through the other Sideshed private group. He's always in there, and he's always got things to say. So, it'd be good to.
Happy to chat to anyone too. If anyone wants to give me a call or whatever, Matt's got my details.
Legend, mate. Rock and roll. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to thesiteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.